What's up, Pensadia? I'm going to answer your questions. All right, so Mark Aitchison, my big two stumbling blocks are networking and asking for money. I don't suppose all the recording facilities in my area also offer mixing service. I suppose that's the same everywhere, and those bands who can't afford to pay for a mix will simply put the rough on SoundCloud and be done with it. Okay, so the first thing I want to address is that if a band is going to put their mix on SoundCloud and not pay for the rough, then that's not on you. That's the client. So you have to separate the concept of a shopper client and what type of a buyer they are, what kind of a budget they have. So if we're assessing a client, there has to be a situation in place where you have like a checklist and you say, okay, does this client have money? What is the value of their total budget? Because in some ways, you have to adopt like the hustler mentality where you think, okay, what is the maximum amount of money this client is going to spend, because they knew that coming to the table. And there's two schools of thought on that. One, that if someone wants something bad enough, they're going to find the money and they're going to pay for it. Or two, that they had a budget in their mind already established, and the question is whether or not you fit that budget. So the most important thing to think about when dealing with business clients for recording studio, the biggest mistake that everybody makes, and this is a very global thing, is that we don't think about our clients in the same way any other business thinks about their clients. We think, oh, it's music, it's art, so it's different. But the truth is it's not different at all. And if we just substitute making music for selling shoes for a second and just like flip your brain around that. Someone comes into your store because they need shoes. They're going to buy the shoes that one fit the best, and then they're going to buy the shoes that fit their budget. And if there's a pair of shoes they really, really, really love, they might put it on layaway or they might put it on credit. So the question there would be for you to offer a payment option that allows them to put it on credit, so that if they want to charge it on their Amex and pay it off later, that's on them in case they don't have cash on hand right now. So my first thing for you, Mark, would be for those clients who can't afford to pay for the mix and are going to just put the rough on SoundCloud, you can either just say go ahead and be done with it, or you can offer them other payment plans such as being able to take Visa, MasterCard, whatever. So this is sort of a no-brainer. Just go get Square Register, and then now you can accept everything. And if any of you guys aren't using Square Register, I really like it. Being able to send invoices that people can pay through the email is actually really cool. So let me get back to the first two parts. Big two stumbling blocks are networking and asking for money. So networking, let's set aside for a second, and let's specifically talk about asking for money. If you can't ask for money, then you fail this game, period, end of story, get out of the way. And so start thinking about adjusting this for a streamlined approach. So step one, assess the client. Who is this client? Where are they from? What have they done? Look at their social media. How much effort have they put into this? Is this a kid who's just done a couple of tracks, or is it a band who's 3 albums deep? Because you can very easily, if you objectively assess where this client is, take a few minutes, look at the website, listen to the music. I know you know how to do all this because you do it every day. We know what the music sounds like. So assess the client and then think, okay, I believe that this person has a budget somewhere in this range. Now I'm going to go for that budget. Now, understanding the process of negotiation is to know that, you're going to start with your asking price, and then they're going to come in way low, and you're going to meet in the middle somewhere. This is typical business. It doesn't change that we're selling shoes or making music. So before you ask for money, and that whole idea of being like, please pay me to do a job, you have to establish your worth. So my normal process for establishing my worth is to say, look, here's my hourly rate. Okay, I'm going to bid on your project. I know what my normal working time is for a song, and I'll give it to you. My normal per song is usually 40 to 50 hours worth of work. Now that's not everybody, and that's not necessarily every project, but I average about 40 to 50 hours on a song. So I like to just block out an entire 7-day calendar week. So in that mindset, I can do 4 songs a month, right? Because there's an average of 4 weeks in a month. Every week, a normal person works 40 hours a week. That's 160 workable hours in a month. So two things have to happen here. One, you have to establish your base rate, which is going to be your total monthly expenses divided by 160. If you guys are paying attention real, this is the number. Your total monthly expenses divided by 160. That's 4 weeks, 40 hours a week. This gets you to a base salary for anybody who's serving coffee or working in an office, okay? Now, once you've established this, then you can extrapolate how many hours you're going to need at this rate, and that's your per song contract or whatever, your per mix contract. So the way that you're going to establish your value to these clients is you're going to sit down face to face and you're going to do a pitch presentation. Okay, and you're going to say, here's what I'm worth, here's what I'm going to do for you. It takes this many days. On day 1, we're going to do this. On day 2, we're going to do this, and X, Y, Z until we hit mastering on day 5 or 6, and then our project's done. So once you've shown them how much time you're going to take, and you say, my base rate is $25 an hour, my base rate is $30 an hour, my base rate is $50 an hour, my base rate is $75, I don't know. That's up to you and what you need to make per month based on this 160 hours a month thing. So the mindset changes because you're not asking for money. It's not, please pay me to do this record. It's, here's what I'm worth. So here's what I'm bidding on your project. I'm bidding 40 hours of work at $25 an hour, whatever that is. I don't have the calculator up in front of me, but this is going to come out to like, I don't know, $1,000 a week, something like that. So then you say, this is my lowest rate. So I would usually say, come up from there a little bit, all right? And then they're going to negotiate you down, but at least now you know what your bottom line is. So asking for money shouldn't happen until the very end of the discussion. So in a standard presentation, you want to assess the client over email and see whether or not this is a valuable part of a waste of your time, or if it's actually going to pan out to something. And we should do this pretty quickly. You can use a few of the key phrases here. Do you have a budget in place? Who's funding your record? And these questions that you're going to ask in the first 2 emails that you're going to say, are you signed to a label? Do you have any management contracts or booking agents? Is, you know, how are you funding this project? And you find it out. And so if someone says, well, I'm paying for it myself, I have a job, I don't really have a budget put together because I haven't really thought about it, but I do have some money. Okay, well then the reality is that this person doesn't have $5,000 chilling in the bank that they're willing to hand you for 3 or 4 songs. So then you're probably going to have to give them a couple different options of how you can work together. And so this is going to be either a flat rate or it's going to be an hourly rate. And again, you're assessing the client, and then you put forth the menu options, okay? So assess the client, step 1. Step 2, in-person meeting. Nobody wants to do this over the phone, over email. It's impersonal, and you can't have a heart-to-heart connection with a client over these mediums. It has to be in person. There's a reason why people do sales calls and they go to the person in a nice suit and they look great and they sit down and you treat it this way. This is a person-to-person connection, okay? So now, granted, not every client can happen this way, but this is sort of what you're going for, okay? So if you can't do this, I would say jump on Skype or jump on whatever and make a connection. So now you're at the sit down, okay, and you're having your business sit down, and you've assessed the situation, you came prepared, you've listened to all their stuff, you're fully like ready to sit this down. So what you're going to do is you're going to let the artist talk, and you're going to ask them all the questions, and you're going to mind meld here, and you're going to come together, and you're going to be like, I understand what you want, I understand where you're coming from, and here's how I plan to give you what you're asking for. And then you put your bid down on the table. You're not asking for money, you're saying, look, you came to me and you said, I want this. So here's how I'm going to deliver this to you. And here's what it takes. And then you take them through all the steps of your process, your production process, how you do this, okay? And then this is going to slightly change between every person who does it, but you know your process. So you walk them through your process and how you're going to spend their money, okay? Because that's really what it is. It's like, I'm going to give you $1,000. Where's it going to go? It's going to go to, 40 hours at whatever, okay? Now you've walked them through your process. Then you have to close for a sale. So remember, we're not selling music, we're selling shoes, we're selling houses, we're selling whatever. My mom was still is in real estate my entire life, and I assisted her when I was a kid, and I watched what an independent sales agent has to go through to make a living and how they do this. And so I watched her do what are called listing presentations. And in a listing presentation, you go to the person's house, you sit down at their kitchen table, you ask for a glass of water, you connect with them, and then you put the listing contract on their table and you say, please sign this contract so that I can sell your house. Okay, so this doesn't change the fact that we're doing a production contract. You have to have the contract ready, printed in your briefcase, looking like a professional, and you put it down on the table and you say, I've already explained everything, now here it is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to literally walk them through your contract, okay? So this isn't like, here, take this contract and go away. This is, here's my contract, let's review it together. And then you're going to go point by point through your contract so that they understand every single thing and why you've put it in there, okay? And you're going to go through it, boom, 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 boom. This is me, here, let me fill your name in for you, or here's the pen, put the pen in their hand. You fill in your address, you fill in all this stuff. Now, paragraph 1, here's payment. I already explained this to you, so this isn't news. Then here's all the terms, and here's the song, and here's your payment schedule. And you're going to go through and you're going to take them through the contract. You're not just going to hand it to them and walk them away. You're going to, so that they leave this comfortable and understanding of why. Because why did he put this in? Oh, he explained it to me why. Okay, so you have what's called a one-stop close. In sales terminology, this means that you went and did the listing presentation and you got them to sign the contract on the spot. Okay, so this doesn't always happen because most people are going to say, okay, I need to review this contract before I jump into a legally binding situation. Ideally, you would get them to sign it. You would have 2 copies, one for them, one for you. Okay, and they're going to take one, and then, but since you've gone through it, there should be no questions, okay? But they still might want to take it away. In this case, I would go for a handshake and a close the sale with a legitimate, like, okay, great, you've agreed to it, let's shake hands, we're going to do business, get their calendar dates, get everything in place. But remember, you're not asking for money, you're asking for a signed contract, okay? And just shifting that mentality from asking for money to asking for a project contract that happens to have money in it changes everything, because you don't look like a beggar, you don't feel like a beggar, you feel like a businessman. Okay, so the next thing is networking. So the hardest part about networking is getting out of the studio, okay, because we're all in this 50 hours a day trying to work it, and so it's like we can't necessarily get out of the studio long enough to make the contacts. So you are going to have to employ a scenario, game plan, a marketing plan that does 2 things. 1, you have to do the job of a PR person for yourself, unless you can hire a PR person, right? The PR person is going to get you into the parties, they're going to get you into the events, the networking events, they're going to put you on the list so that you can be there, and then you have to take that thing and go shake hands and kiss babies and pass out cards and pass out whatever. So networking all hinges on you having your kit ready. Because they're going to say, can I have a business card? And you're going to be like, oh, I don't really have any cards. Okay, then you're unprepared. Do you have a marketing piece that you can put in your pocket? Even if you only bring 3 or 4 of them to the event, you need to have that kit ready to go, because you're always on. If you go to the coffee shop down the street, this actually happened to me, and I was having a meeting with one client, and there was a person 1 table down taking notes on my entire meeting, and it turned out this was an artist who basically I got the email address and I got 2 clients out of that meeting. So you just never know where it's going to happen, so you have to be ready. So understanding that you're always on, doesn't matter where you go, is a huge part of this as well. So let's get back to it. So how do I network? Okay, well, the first thing you have to understand about marketing and networking is that you do not market to your competition. Number 1 rule, do not spend time marketing to your competition. Okay, this is the biggest mistake anybody makes. If I'm selling shoes and I advertise to Nike, it does nothing. So coming onto a forum like this, like Pensado Students or Gear Sluts, and advertising to my competition does nothing except give my advertising to my competition so they can copy it and take it away. It's not going to get me any clients. There's an old phrase that says the smart fisherman goes where the fish are. So what you need to do first is you need to assess where the artists are in your location. Where are they all? Where are all the fish? and then you have to market directly to the fish. So if I was making running shoes, I would go find marathons, and I would go market to the marathon people. I would go find CrossFit gyms where people need that. Okay, think like a business person that's not selling music, and then back it up. I always tell people getting started, if you need to find musicians, where are the musicians? Well, they're all rehearsing at the rehearsal halls. Okay, that's like the basics of that. Okay, yeah, all the bands got to rehearse. So that's one place that everybody can go to, is find the rehearsal halls nearest to their studio, and you need to flyer them, and you need to go in and shake hands and like walk and be like, dude, I love your band. You guys are freaking badass, and I would love to record you. Do you have a producer? Do you have a studio? Because you guys are awesome and you inspire me, and you tell them the truth. I mean, like, I could do great things for you. Here's my card. Here's my press kit. Here's a flyer. Why don't you come in and check out the studio? Check out the studio. I mean, this is where you want to be. So the next thing I would say is, coming back, extrapolate that into all the different places where you can find artists. So there's probably going to be songwriting conventions that are put on by ASCAP or BMI or whatever, where you can go. There's all the songwriters there. Those are all artists. They all need to cut their songs somewhere. Getting in good with an A&R rep at a local label, an indie label, somebody's accepting all of these indie artists' CDs, okay, and going through them and then spitting them out and then putting certain ones through to the next level up. So if you were able to find that person and network with them, then all the people that didn't get kicked up a level could effectively be clients for you, because they could then say to them person, hey, I really liked what you did, but you know what? You could use a mix, and I have the guy. So establishing a relationship with this person and possibly offering them a commission on what they're like acting like a manager, but they're kicking you business. So finding the tastemakers, the trendsetters, the people that are about town that are super cool and everybody likes to be around them, and giving them a deal and being like, look, for every client you refer me, I'm going to give you $100. I'm going to give you, I would say for every client that you refer me that goes in contract, I'm going to give you $100. I'm going to give you, I don't know, whatever. But you decide that. So find the local cool kid that knows everybody, that goes to all the shows, that everybody's like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? Come on in. The one that knows the bouncers. You know what I'm saying? Find this person and get in good with them. Network with them. They'll network with you in with everybody. Usually it's the hot chick or the really cool dude. So find them. They're usually party kids. Buy them a bottle of vodka. I don't know. You figure it out. The next thing about networking is, this is something that I learned when I was working at the Holiday Inn Express in Nashville on Broadway. When I first got to Nashville and I needed to pay rent, obviously, while I was getting my studio going at night, is that swag and schmoozing and spending money on a client that you want is very important, because they need to know that you value them, and on and on and on. So one of the things that we used to do, we would send muffins on a Monday morning. We would send bottles of wine to people. So if there's an A&R rep at an indie label that you want to work with, find who this is and go to their Facebook and see what they like, because social media, it's everywhere. And then once you've established what they like, send them a package, like a care package with your CD and your photo and a bottle of their favorite wine and a pound of their favorite coffee. And I know it's $100 that you're going to spend, $200 you're going to spend on this, but the truth is that dude knows you now, and he knows that you care, and that you actually like took the time to figure, oh my God, this is my favorite bottle of $50 wine. I don't know what it is, right? I can't believe he figured out that I like caramel chocolates from Hershey's. I don't know, but you could find this out. And then, you get that information. Now you're on that dude's radar. Even if you don't necessarily ask them for anything, just be like, hey, I know that you're here. Here's what I'm doing. Here's a care package. I'm here if you need me. And then you follow up. You don't just let that die. In a month, you follow up. You send them something else. Here's another CD. Maybe it doesn't have a bottle of wine in it this time. Maybe it just has some goods, like your music goods and your resumes or whatever. Hey, just did this. Just got a Billboard charting, whatever. And then update them. Now they're on your monthly rotation. And don't spam these people. Personally email them. Hey, man, the truth is that you're possibly going to meet these people out networking, but in secret, they probably wouldn't remember if they did meet you at one of these events. So if you find that they went, like if you went on your Facebook and you're like, oh, this person just went to the BMI mixer, you could just say, hey, I met you at the BMI mixer, and they probably wouldn't know the difference. Okay. So Remember, they meet millions of people every day. So get in good. Don't be afraid to send a bottle of wine. Don't be afraid to get in there and like establish a presence, and then you have to maintain that presence. And if you want something bad enough, it just takes time. You have to keep on it, because what's going to happen is that you're establishing a first look. They're going to need something, and they're going to think, who do I call? And your name pops up first. That's what you're establishing. In real estate, this is called building a farm. Why is it called building a farm? Because you have to plant a seed, you have to wait for it to grow, and when it's ready, you can harvest it. All right? When the fruit is ripe, you harvest it, or you pull it out of the ground or whatever. So consider that you are building a farm for your business right now, and you're planting the seeds that will grow into fruit later. But it's not going to happen in a month. It's going to happen over 6 months. So now, let me see. I think I've answered most of that as far as I can. Nick Warder. Got my accounts and invoicing down. Spreadsheets, very easy. For me, I hate the hard sell. Okay, so this goes back to what I said earlier, Nick, and I think that you remember that it's not a hard sell. It's not you saying like, don't you want to work with me? 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 It's about you establishing your base value and understanding that you cannot work for less than this. So my value is important. Here's what I've done. Here's my value, and I'm putting it in front of you. Here's the thing to remember is that if you are, there's two types of sales or sales calls. There's cold calling, which is when you go to Facebook or Reverb Nation and you pick out a stranger and you send them your propaganda and you're like, use me for this, okay? Cold calling works by the numbers. It's a numbers game. You might make 1 million connections and 90% of them are going to be crap, and 10% of them might be good, and 1% of them might sign, okay? So that's the thing you have to remember when it gets you down on sales calls is it's a numbers game. The more numbers you get, the higher the chances you're going to get something good. Now, swap that. If you have something called a warm call or a warm lead or an inbound sales lead, okay? These are the best because these are people who are actively shopping for what you're trying to sell. These are the clients that go into your shoe store and say, hey, I need a new pair of running shoes. And now you are not doing a hard sell anymore. Now it's a soft sale because they already know what they want. They're already shopping for it. They're prepared to spend money, and they're coming to you to see if you can put the right shoe on their foot. So what that means is nobody comes to you with a lead if you don't have a neon sign. All right? You have to have a billboard somewhere. You have to have a big spotlight shining on you so they can say, hey, I need a shoe, and I've heard of Bob's Shoe Store, so I'm going to go over there and check it out. Okay, so you have to establish a dedicated, continuous, unending, stable marketing plan. So my first question for you, Nick, would be, how much money are you spending on your monthly marketing plan? And this goes for anybody else listening to this. If you do not have a marketing budget, then you are not winning at that game, period, end of story. You posting on Facebook doesn't do it. These people are going to see it, they're going to skip it, they're going to whatever. You have to find the place digitally or physically. It has to be a side of a billboard. So it has to be like a poster on a wall. It has to be brand recognition so that when the artist leaves the rehearsal hall, they see the poster on the wall at the bulletin board of the rehearsal hall. Or it's got to be on a, I don't know, something on a digital forum somewhere where artists go for songwriting tips, and they've got to see that and then say, oh, you know what? I actually need that service. So then they're going to follow you to your website. So two things are going to happen here. And this is the most important thing. There's two columns. There's, well, first off, you have to absolutely not do any hype. Hype would be, yeah, I'm the greatest, and I'm doing, you know, like a hype man in rap. It's like it's not true. What we need is facts, okay? So two columns. One, facts, and two, your website / resume / demo reel / all of that stuff. So what they're going to do is they're going to be drawn in by facts and truth in marketing, right? Nick Warder is awesome, so I dig all this. Okay, this guy sounds good, so now I'm going to follow the links to his website. Ah, it checks out. If these two things don't check out, they're gone. All right, but if they do check out and they say, okay, the marketing was true, the website reflected the truth, so now I feel good that this is a good avenue to pursue and see if I can afford it and we can come together. Then they're going to call you, they're going to email you, they're going to check it out. And then, of course, we'll go back to everything I said at the beginning of the video. Assess the client, go for the meeting, put down your bid, go for the sale, call it a day. So this doesn't change in any type of business. You just have to be willing, and you have to man up and be willing to just say, does this sound good to you? Okay, so let me just back it up. I'll actually walk you through it. So the contract, so I put the contract down, and I go through the whole contract and say, how does this sound to you? And they'll say, or I'll say, what are you thinking? And they'll say, well, it's a little bit more money than I wanted to spend. And then I'll say, okay, so what are you thinking now? So when you say more money than you wanted to spend, does that mean that you need to cut the budget somewhere? Or does it just mean that because I can give you a payment plan where you do portion up front, portion halfway through, and a portion at the end. Would that help you? Did you know that I have accepting Visa so you can pay on credit? I mean, this is where you're going to give what's called objection override. Okay, so they're going to put up an objection. They're going to say, well, I was hoping that I wouldn't have to hire any musicians and that you would pay for everything, or you would play everything on the record. And then you'll say, I can play everything on the record, but the quality is going to suffer because I'm only a professional piano player and a drummer. I'm not a guitar player and a bass player. So while I absolutely could program those, you're trying to do Appalachian ethnic folk music. And the only way to do that is to have a legitimate sound of a recording of the mandolin and a banjo and whatever else. And this is going to depend on you knowing the client's needs and being prepared for this meeting. And then, of course, again, assessing everything. So then you're going to say, so I could do this, and then you could decide later whether or not you want to pay those people. But to discount it now is only really going to hurt you, because let me play something for you. This is what it sounds like when it's legitimate. Oh, okay. And that's their competition. You're going to play them for you. So to get back to it, so when they do objections, the key to objections is, again, objection override. Don't meet an objection with a negative. Meet an objection, how weird that iTunes just came on. Meet an objection with a workaround. Okay, so if you're not able to hire a guitar player, do you know a guitar player that is at a quality that would be good on the record that could work for free? And so then you give them a solution to that problem. So the last thing you want to do is discount your services, but that's where you go next, and that's the final statement. Okay, so look, you're ready. You would be ready to go if it just cost $200 less. Okay, well, how about this? What if I pay for the guitar player myself out of my production advance? And then they say, that'd be okay. I'm saving you $200 on paper. Well, on paper it's the same, but I'm going to pay for the acoustic guitar player. Then, of course, that's when you call in your favors, and that all works out. Okay, so, but you don't discount it on paper. You keep it going, because there's always ways, all right, ways to work around it. And musicians that that are getting all your business are going to be more than happy to take a crap gig every once in a while to get your greater book of business. So don't worry about that. It looks like I've answered pretty much all the questions. We didn't get a lot of questions here, but I think this is good. I'm probably reaching like 10 minutes now, so I'm going to cut this off. But if you guys have any more questions, I'll try and do another video today. But I hope this was helpful and I didn't talk too fast. All right, Pensadia, talk to you guys soon.